Now, good suggestion for all of you: if you don't watch yourself, because it's going to get feedback and you're going to get confused, because that's what happened with me one time. I was like, when I was talking with Matt one time, all of a sudden I was like, where are these extra voices coming from?
Well,
Right.
I always have.
We're used to that at rehearsal.
Voices in my head, man.
That's true.
Just cover my eyes.
Looks like it's going live. All right.
Doing silly girl.
Here you go. Do you remember when, Matt?
Oh my God. Seems like an eternity ago.
That I don't want that chord.
Oh, it's a minor major 7. God damn it.
It was a major
This
minor.
Right,
This
it was
is
major
man
minor.
Matt turned into
I think it's
hard rock and yell at the mic, Matt.
Right. I got these 4 British guys sleeping behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder who they are.
I don't know. It's a good question.
You missed
All right.
this, Michael.
They're not all
I was
right,
doing
that's
this.
for sure.
What were you doing, Scott? Oh, okay. There you go. Well, you're blocking. Well, okay, yeah, you're blocking yourself.
Blocking himself.
Yeah, yeah. Or either that, or he's just got a big head in that picture. You know.
all right.
There you go.
We're live.
Who's in this band?
What? Who? Where?
Okay, start introducing yourself.
Hi, everyone.
Greetings.
Let's get rid of this.
Hello.
All right.
This is AmuZeum.
I'm Mark Wickliffe, bass and vocals and things.
Scott Jones, voice.
Jerry Beller, drums and vocals.
Michael Mateer, guitars and putting up with the other guys.
Matt Brown, keyboards and backing vocals and general madness.
There you go. And I'm the host. Some guy
Ron.
named Ron.
Hey, Ron.
So I did one of these things with Matt, and basically it's just a conversation. Music. So whatever comes to mind, you know, the band stuff, solo stuff, past, present, future, whatever you guys want to talk about. You know, I don't like to do it like a traditional interview because I kind of think those look stiff, you know, because they always ask you the same question. You know, you go through different interviews and it's the same exact question, maybe a variation, but it's the same thing. You know, it's like, when did you start? You know, who were your influences? You know, things like that. That
Oh,
you know, those are
answers right here, man, ready for you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you got your cheat sheet.
cheat sheet.
It's the lyrics to our new song.
Right. It's this whole big litany of.
And out of all of you guys, I know Mike the longest. Because remember, you used to come up to my dad's
He's
shop.
been the one that's been on the earth the longest.
Yeah. No, I came up and met you and Angie.
Yeah. That was 2006, 2007.
Oh, was it? Wow. Okay.
I think it was. But and then after you, it was Jerry and his previous band.
Yeah, previous.
You know, Mars Hollow, and then it was Matt and Scott, and then now Mark.
Right.
So,
And I knew Mark back in 2000 with 10 Gin, I think he just mentioned as well. So, you know, we've been kind of circling around each other. I've known Scott since, I guess, 90 or 91, somewhere around then.
I thought you guys met in the hospital when you
Not
were
quite.
born.
I do have to say though, I was born again once I met Michael.
Oh, there you go. See? He has that effect on people, man.
With that hair too.
I
You're
met
born again with that hair.
yeah.
Michael informed me that there was more than 2 chords that I was playing on my acoustic guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
So
he
we
met
had the
me.
third one.
Right. He met me and he was like, oh God.
This
There's
guy's got
7,
too many
8,
chords.
9.
All of
You
those
can't keep up
notes.
with all those.
Too many damn
Oh.
chords.
Playing with Matt it makes you dig into your musical education a little deeper because you want to have that accessible because he just has it flying out of his fingers without thinking about it. So you have to be ready.
Yeah.
I,
Well, you
I'm
know,
often-
Mike,
I'm often going back and asking, what did we do there? What was that?
Thank goodness we record everything because we can go back and listen to it.
Yeah, and sometimes we got to learn what we recorded. That happens.
A lot of
Yeah.
good bands do that, and then we piece it all together.
True.
hey, you know, Mike, I've known you since 2001.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right
Yeah,
around there.
I was with the keyboard player looking for a bass player and a drummer, and Jerry and John come walking in from an ELP tribute that they were in.
Yeah.
And we all kind of hit it off, and then we started that too. So yeah.
I think I saw Mike and Mark in 1999. I think I remember correctly. I hadn't joined the whole tribute band world just yet, but I was seeing this Genesis tribute at this club in Sierra Madre, and 10 Gin were playing with them. And so I know I saw Mark and Mike. I don't know. Maybe you were in the band then in 1999.
I don't think so. I
Not
probably
yet?
was about to
Were you
join.
not, Mike?
I don't know because you guys had already done the first Baja Prague before I joined the band. Mark,
Okay.
you know.
Maybe
Yeah.
it was just Mark that I had seen. And then Mark and I wound up actually meeting proper when we were playing with an old high school friend of mine who was putting a band together to record and tour his own songs. And
Completely different genre. It was like
Yeah.
I was telling you, Ron, it was a kind of folky rock kind of thing, like Neil Young meets Tom Petty, styly kind of thing.
yeah,
And
Brian was an interesting dude because he was a huge Queen fan and he was a huge Alarm fan. And I think he wanted the folk song quality of a lot of Mike Peters' best songs with the whole like rock band identity of something like Queen, you know? And I think it was sort of his way of putting it together at that time.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It was fun. We did it for quite a while.
yeah, after you left, I continued on with him for a number of years, and he's up in Northern California now, and still
Right.
killing it. Still killing it.
Yeah. He had put a new band together. He's doing a lot of Facebook Live stuff, you know, to pass the time. And
Since everybody's shut down and locked up.
yeah, since we're all like climbing the walls, you know.
Yeah, I know. I heard you guys
Live
out
and
in
YouTube
California.
and all the other stuff.
And I heard you guys in California are even more in lockdown than any other state in the country.
Well, you know that the increase in cases started happening first in the back east and in the Midwest before it started happening out here. So I think they were more in a lockdown back then over in those places, and now they're starting to get, you know, lower case levels and things like that. And now
Right.
we're stuck into like, okay, well, now we're getting a surge. Now we've got to do our thing. And so that's going to happen for a while until we get, you know, this
Control.
vaccine thing happening.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't miss Southern California. I mean, except for friends out there, I don't miss the crazy traffic. And you know, it's like that old song, I need some, you know, the elbow room, you know, it's like, I got plenty of it out here
Where are you?
in Maine.
Okay. Wow.
Big
Get any
difference.
further from us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nova Scotia.
Yeah, you can give Canada a hug, you know, it's cool.
Pretty much. I think it's about 4 hours away.
Hey,
Canada.
Ron, are you in the Maine part of Maine?
I'm down towards the bottom. No, but nowhere near Spain.
Okay, thank you.
And does it ever rain?
And
Yeah, it rains. Oh, it rains. It's been raining more than snowing this year.
And
Ugh.
do you
Must
take the
be so
train?
plain.
No trains come up this way. Unless it's a freight train.
That's a shame.
That's a
Yeah.
shame.
One of our new tunes coming up right there.
right.
There you go.
As long as the rain stays.
We only take the train when we're in Maine, and it's just a shame.
All right.
Write that down, somebody. I don't know what key that's in.
It's recorded.
Snow and rain, you know.
It's gonna be on this thing and
Yeah,
YouTube,
you
so
can reference it anytime, Scott.
anytime, yeah.
Yep.
I think I asked Matt, I want to say, did any of the rest of you guys go to any of the prog fests? It was in Los Angeles.
I actually didn't go to any of the prog fests. You're talking like Cal Prog and that type of thing?
No, before Cal Prog. The one that Greg Walker did.
Yeah, actually, I did see Spock's Beard, I think at UCLA quite a number of years ago.
I thought that was something.
I believe that was the one that they made the video out of, them doing The Light and a few other songs. But I remember going to that a long time ago when Greg first started his.
Yeah,
you know.
the first one was at Royce Hall.
Yeah, that's where I was
And-
at Royce
and it
Hall
was-
seeing Spock's Beard.
Okay, you may have seen. He may have had like a side thing going on because he only did 1 year at Royce, and then the rest of the years was over at the Variety Arts Theater on right off the 10. That's where it's at. Trying to remember that area. And
Yeah, I think it might have been a Cal Prog Presents thing. I don't know.
yeah, because after in 2000, he just couldn't afford to do it anymore. So it was a few years after that until
Jim took over, right?
Jim did Cal Prog, you know.
Right.
And then I think before Cal Prog there was something called Prog West out in Claremont, and they did 2 years. I think it was 2001 and 2002, and they had a different band called it's band Goblin, but under
Oh
a
yeah,
different name.
very familiar with Goblin. Yeah.
But under a different name and slightly different lineup. They were more prog metal than what Goblin was, and so it's like there was a lot of different. There was basically 3 different prog festivals going on in the Los Angeles area, or Southern California area, and then I think I'll probably just stopped. Nothing else. You guys have anything since like the late 2000?
Mark,
Listen.
if you're making
The
a sale,
last-
make me one.
Hey,
The
what?
last festival,
If you're making
Ron, I
sales-
believe, was like 2010.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's when they had Ambrosia, and I believe it was District 97. And there were a few other bands that played that weekend. And then after that, it was mainly just Cal Prog Presents.
Yeah.
Right.
And but I don't happen to see a lot of variety in that medium for that specific promotion.
Yeah. Jim I think I noticed that he tended to go more towards the mainstream artists.
Yeah,
Than-
either
than
Neil
the more
Morris or Transatlantic or
Right. You know, and that's cool, but you know, it's like sometimes you need a more variety of stuff to bring in more people. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that Cal Prog was sponsoring the Hackett shows and the musical box stuff, and like they were pretty heavily entrenched in that side of it rather than like breaking new bands or anything like that.
And that's an issue because then nobody knows about the other bands. They may be great. People may go, wow, we need to go see these guys. And then nobody ever gets a chance.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, just like and up here in Maine, we have nothing. There's nothing. No one.
Get
Closest.
on it, Ron.
Yeah.
I need money. I'm playing the lotto every once in a while, you know, hoping for that couple $100 million, then I'll do something cool, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we got a water right on the river. There's an amphitheater, and I think it's like a 2,000 or 3,000 seat amphitheater, but it's like kind of like general admission type of thing.
Mhm.
The only time they tend to get a really big audience is country acts.
Yeah.
And then there's every once in a while there is a they have like some sort of a metal festival, which is bands I never heard of, and they're just a bunch of growling and everything. So it's like it kind of turns me off a bit. It's like I like to hear a voice, not noise coming out of someone's mouth. That you can open up your door and hear people yelling outside.
That crowd has
Put
it.
in the cranberries.
And it's big music for that crowd. It's not my personal cup of tea, but
Yeah.
I get why I get why there's an audience for it.
And once in a while we get one of those classic rock revival tours, like I think we had Heart last summer.
I know Def Leppard and
2019.
Poison were
Yeah.
touring together.
Yeah, they were here not this summer, but last summer. Yeah, 2019. I think they were here. And
Doobie Brothers and Steve Miller and stuff.
yeah, stuff like that. The hits bands.
Right. The legacy acts.
Yeah, those.
Pretty much you could call them,
However, this pandemic has actually kind of been lucky for some people. I actually came across a radio station out here that's pretty popular. And Ron, I'm sure you remember KLOS, right?
Oh yes.
Well, KLOS has been playing local bands lately during the day.
Yeah.
Wow, you mean
So
not
Scott, you might want to get on that.
Not just on Sunday nights at midnight. Yeah.
Yeah, they're actually playing them during the day and in rotation. So we
Yeah,
may want to get on that.
Yeah, they've definitely done some interesting format changes. There's a handful of local acts that they've been kind of championing and mixing in with the 70s, 80s, and 90s harder rock that they're playing.
Oh yeah.
So
We have two stations out here. One that's owned by Stephen King, and then another one. And they both play. They just play the same, maybe 2 or 3 dozen songs.
Welcome to my nightmare.
Stuff like that.
Oh, right.
Over London.
It's like just the same.
Frankenstein,
Witch Queen of New Orleans.
Number the Beast,
Witchy woman.
Witchy Woman. Right? Even King Station has to be horror themed.
Yeah.
Probably isn't, but it should.
I think on Halloween, I think they do go.
Yeah.
The call letters are Cujo.
AUJO. Nice.
Joe.
Well played.
Well played, buddy.
Well played.
I think it's. I don't remember what the call numbers are. I know it's
Hey,
number.
UJO.
It's 100.
If it's not that, then he's missing out.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
So
So,
you're listening to Scott Jones on KUJO.
Arr.
Main
have like-
scariest station.
They have rabid fans.
Yes, indeed. Keep them in their cages, man. Want to get bit.
so what else is going on music wise since you're in lockdown?
So we were actually back early this year before things got bad. We had about 4 or 5 songs in rotation that we were trying to work on musically. Actually, one of them we're working on right now, and drums and bass and a lot of the guitars are already done.
Yeah.
And it's in Matt's plate right now. He's
It's in my
He's conjuring up some ideas in his head to put in there, and then it'll be the vocals. We're not sure if we're just going to release it as a one-off, as like a single, like maybe for the holidays or after the new year, or maybe we'll do like an EP and do like 4 or 5 or whatever, or maybe even do an album. We haven't decided yet, but
Right.
those songs are in writing rotation right now, and we're kind of trying to like vibe to like work towards the second record right now, and
Right.
writing one. So we're all kind of like, well, here's what I got, here's the file, the one that we're doing already, the one that we already have bass and drums on, that was already kind of cohesively written. It's nothing that we're file sharing and going, oh, well, we could do that with, or we could do this with. It was already in the can, ready to go, pretty much arrangement wise. So we're going to get that done,
Yeah.
and hopefully we'll see what happens. And then we've got like one other one that was really close to being done. That'll probably be the next one that we're going to try to tackle. But yeah, we're going to try to keep things going while the rest of the music world have been kind of like closed off, just so
Right.
that we can keep things.
Well, you guys are within, what is it? A quick driving, or maybe hour drive?
Yeah, most of us are close.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little farther out, but yeah, within a couple of 2.5 hours.
He has been his whole life.
Yeah, I'm always a little behind or ahead. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because last week I was talking with 2 of the guys from Echoland, and they're spread apart. 2 of them are in Pennsylvania, one's in Connecticut. It's like, and they were all ready to start, back in March to do something, and then they that dreaded day, what was it, March 14th, that when they said it's all closed, so they said, oh, we're gonna reconvene in a couple of weeks, and we'll do that, and it hasn't reconvened yet.
I've been able to, yeah.
So it's like, but they're further apart from each other. I mean, I think it's a good, I think from Pennsylvania to Connecticut, it's a good 3.5 or so hour drive. So,
Well, you think of bands that are like that are pretty high up in the echelon. I mean, maybe not the same members as they had when they first started, but I mean, you have to figure, like let's just take for instance the new Asia. You've got Bumblefoot's involved in it, Billy Sherwood's involved in it right now, and I'm sure those guys, we know that those guys don't live in England. And Carl and when Steve Howe was involved, they had to come from England to do rehearsals. So that
Right.
That's pretty far away right there.
oh yeah,
And I'm sure at that point they were file sharing, and the recording aspect is interesting now, that we could actually, even though we all prefer to get into a room and sweat it out, that it is possible to develop ideas from afar. It's just a different way of working, and it's a slightly different way of thinking it, approaching it, but it's still doable, But
Well,
I mean, what was happening before the pandemic was that we would get together pretty regularly. We had like one day a week that was, unless someone had a gig or someone wasn't feeling all that hot, we would convene, and usually those Wednesday sessions were a combo of keeping the existing material fresh and brainstorming new ideas, getting it, and other band business and stuff. But a lot of the reason why we're able to be this far along with the first song is because we worked out a lot of the meat and potatoes on those Wednesday nights, and many of the other songs are at various states of writing completion because of those sessions. So now it's like, okay, we can't play in the same room together, which is a drag, but we could do this. So this is what we do, to keep the ball rolling and keep things moving forward. So,
Yeah, I see different variations of that where people are creating music, you know, like you say, through file sharing and almost putting out albums like they, you know, what is it? The Flower Kings put out something, and then now Transatlantic's going to have something. You know, it's like they seem to be on that kind of a role. But I think, you know, it's really depends on, you know, like that band Ekelin. Two of the guys are teachers. One keyboard player, Christopher. He's a music teacher, so he, you know, at least he's within the field. But the other one isn't so much. So it's really depending on, you know, how your personal life and jobs are affecting things too.
Yeah.
But you know, I think I told Matt, I said this is also during this time is also a good time to do a lot of brainstorming, because if you're don't have any distractions like you had previously, like I'm sorry, you're saying going to friends' houses and family, you can't do that anymore. So at least that time is now open. Maybe do some brainstorming on song ideas.
It leaves a lot of room for, thinking about ideas and then throwing, the file to somebody else and then them tagging onto it. And then, I've got an idea right now. I was just on my computer just the other day and I went, oh, that's interesting.
mhm.
So now I'm going to put some drums on it and I'll send it to Matt and Mike and Mark and see what they come up with, and get their input
He
on it.
never sends it to me because I don't like anything he does.
Wrong. I
I've
sent
just
you
been,
a song just the other day. Say it was called "Scott Get a Haircut," and you
yeah,
loved it.
obviously I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I've been working on learning the first album in case we ever play live again.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we will. I just don't know when.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it would be the height of irony to do that song while you haven't gotten your haircut. I think that would actually probably play better in front of an audience.
Well, this is a long time. It's been longer, but this has not ever been longer. This is crazy.
Yeah. Well,
You know.
I've seen you with like the kind of the mullet look, but not the front. This is
That's kind of Dracula land.
Dracula Land.
Doesn't it?
I'm thinking,
yeah.
this works a little better than the mullet thing, man. The mullet, I'm not sure that was the greatest idea back in the day. Just saying.
Well, for me, I don't care what goes on back here and over here. This is what I can't take.
Right.
So, and I'm ready to cut it off myself. So
No, don't do that. You're going to regret that.
Eric grows back, or for some of y'all.
Oh, well, there is that.
I could take the Mark approach, but then I think I would shock everybody, including my wife.
Well, she might like it. I don't know. Come here, you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing you guys can do, and I've seen quite a few bands do it, is even though it's not live, but do like a video. I guess I don't know how you would do it where everybody's playing the instrument. You do the
It's
song, but
basically one person does a take, and then the other person goes ahead because there's a click track, or maybe there's a code signature on the video. Then they do a take, and then the third person, the guitar player, gets on. He does his parts, and they piece it together like you're all playing together.
Yeah.
that's cool.
Too
I mean,
much.
the only other way to do it, there's a few apps you can get like Jam Kazam and things like that. Problem is that if you're a little bit too far away, then you've got all this, issue with
Latency.
latency. Thank you.
Yeah.
or once everything gets a little bit clear where you're still not able to do the live shows, get into a studio after, I guess you guys, each one will have to do the COVID test and then get on stage, but spread apart and have someone film it, and you can either go live on YouTube or have it on special.
Yeah, you could do that. We could all don hazmat suits and call it the hazmat show with the museum.
That's
There you go.
Like
Got
Bebop.
a Z in it.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be Matt's.
We're actually one of the bands that actually has a mat.
Oh, that's true.
Hey Matt,
Yo,
they just gave you a new name for you if you wanted to do a solo band or something. The Hazmats. Hazmats.
the hazmat. That's
And we
gonna-
back him up, and we could back up his band as the Has-Beens.
They have all those shirts like got Scott, got Mike. We could get one for Matt. Just put hazmat on it.
with a
That's
question mark.
Hey, you know what? That could be the
Oh,
that's the title of the second record. AmuZeum, Hazmat. Anything for anybody?
there you go.
With a funky spelling.
HAZ.
And as
So, Mark, did you enjoy your lunch or whatever you were doing there?
was making cinnamon rolls.
oh,
Nice.
While everybody's been locked down, I mean, my cooking and baking game has risen to a whole new level.
cool deal, man.
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, I've worked up my skills in the kitchen as well as keep practicing every day,
Yeah.
playing
Yes,
something.
when you guys rehearse
other
again,
thing you
he's
have
going to bring the refreshments.
Like once every 6 weeks, maybe.
It'll be so great just to get back to it again. I think the energy
Yeah,
is going to be over the top for us, and all
Yeah.
the new music that we've been working on is going to be. It'll take us a while to get back.
But I can imagine us laughing at remembering the album we released.
Yeah, did I really do that there? Because that makes no sense to me whatsoever at this point.
Wow, I played that. Oh, okay.
Hey, Mike, you forgot the pickup note.
Yeah. I'm always one. That's yeah. I'm not even going to go.
I just noticed that Matt's is slowly disappearing.
Oh,
Part of his-
sorry.
I've noticed that for a couple of years.
Oh,
In the background.
He's actually out at his pool and he's
my raft is
going for a swim.
That-
Who's behind him?
no, my raft is deflating and it's sinking. The more water I drink, the heavier I get, and the more I fall down. Sorry. about
it kind of looks like he's coming out of the blanket with the
Oh yeah, he's
that.
fading into the
Coming up
blanket.
from under the
I think it's
blanket.
because Matt pre-recorded his parts here.
Ta-da! Yeah,
yeah.
It's not there.
it's not real. Memorex. I think you're right though. Just the energy level and being able to say, "Oh my God! All 5 of us are in the same room again, and here's a whole bunch of stuff." That's.
I'm actually amazed that so far no progressive rock band has actually put out a triple album, because everybody does most of them do double albums, but it's never. I think maybe what was it? Transatlantic has like 16
Jeez.
with that box set that they're coming out with. It's like, holy cow! I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, Flower Kings have released they've done a couple of records that were pretty long. I mean,
Yeah, real long. Yeah.
I mean, if they were trying to cut those for vinyl, at least one of them would probably be a triple. But I don't know if like a triple CD set that would be even. You're talking like 3 hours of music at least,
Yeah,
at least, you know. So
But
I
who's
don't
gonna
know.
sit around and listen to 3 hours of music?
Yeah, I mean, it's rare that, I mean, I don't know, unless it's that would be kind of like music for lockdown, because how often are you going to have 3 hours of time in one sitting, you know?
Yeah, it'd be great. You know, you play the first CD. Well, I've got 2 more days of CD to look forward to.
Right. Maybe at the end of each CD, you have to, like, you know, have a little 10-second disclaimer. Stay tuned for part 2. Like that. You know?
Actually, you know, at the end of each CD, it'll go, let's go out to the lobby, get ourselves a drink.
To be continued, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody go
Or
get
you-
some refreshments.
Congratulations, you've reached the end of CD 1. Go get CD 2 and put it in your player now.
Right. What was that one thing that Tom Petty did? He was like, we've reached the point in this record where those listeners on cassette or album will have to stand up or sit down and flip over the record or tape. In fairness to those listeners, we will now take a few seconds before we start side 2.
Could there be any other way? Could there be any other way?
Exactly. Thank you. Now here's side 2. You know,
Well, you know, we're all talking about CDs and records and cassettes. Was it Christopher Eklund? He mentioned those to his students, and they go, "You still use CDs?" You know, it's like, because they're so used to downloads, and it's like, so it's like nowadays it's like, I personally want the physical media. You know, whether it's an EP or full length, it doesn't matter as long as. But you know, people that are a lot younger than us, they want digital. They want and that's all they want. They don't want to hold a CD in their hand, and and it's a shame that they don't know about the CDs, about the cassettes, about things like, you know, like that, where it's like, you know, it's always been, every time I get it, still when I get a new CD, it's just a pleasure opening up the package, putting the CD in the CD player, and listening to it that way on my headphones.
Yeah,
You
well,
know.
I also think too, Ron, that I don't think it's not necessarily the physical aspect of it. I think it's the simplicity of like, oh, I'm going to go to iTunes or I'm going to go wherever. There it is. Push the button, download. I'm done.
Exactly, that too.
Nobody's taking the fact of going, oh wow, look at Kevin Olson produced this, or they recorded this at blah blah blah, whatever it is. You know, it's a
Exactly.
different way of thinking.
Or they say, buying the CD, and they say, well, and then he asks, well, how do you get your CD? We get it for free online, you know, streaming sites. And I said, well, you know, one of my friends, Matt knows, Joel Martin, and
Oh, Joel, yeah, I know Joel.
and he basically he was writing on Facebook about, you know, something to the degree of the evil empire Spotify, and how they're not paying what you know, what the musician is worth, what the songs are worth. And when he did that, I immediately deleted my account. I just got it like a few weeks before I talked with him.
You
When
know,
he said that, I just deleted it.
Ron, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just saw something about that just a few days ago with some big artists saying that they're like, you know, trying to get better pay for not just themselves, but for everybody else.
Right.
As far as like, you know, okay, you're getting 99 cents for this play, you know, or how much ever the album is, just so that, you know, there's some type of, you know, income.
Right.
So,
And Yeah, it's like I understand it's nice to be able to go and stream some music. The only thing now that I have kept, and it's because whenever I buy a CD from Amazon, they give you that little MP3 that you play on their can play on their app. That's the only time I have any kind of digital music. You
Yeah,
know,
because it's a benefit.
yeah, it's just like, but sometimes, when you're out and about, you can't bring like a whole stack of CDs with you. So it's the convenience of that. And that's where I think digital, that's where it comes into it for a convenience. But if you're at home, you know, you can pull out the CDs and put them in, you know.
You know what really interests me, and this is always kind of like got my goat a little bit about music quality. If you listen to a piece of music that you actually, physically own at home, whether it be CD or album, and then you listen to it on a movie, it sounds 300 times better in the movie than it does at home. And I'm just wondering if that has to do with like when they're mixing the movie, or they remixing the song too?
I think the movies are since they're done in HD, whether it's 2K or 4K, and I think there's 8K coming out, or it's already out, that you're getting more quality than you do on a CD. That's the only thing I can think of it, why it sounds better. Or maybe they're tweaking the mix a little bit. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, but it's like every time I hear something, it's like, wow, this sounds amazing. How did they get the sound like this? What did they do? Kind of like, I mean, my wife was in the industry.
You turned off your mic, Jerry.
Oh, Jerry, we can't hear you.
Jerry, you turned off your mic.
He's still going.
Yeah.
Jerry, we can't hear you, man.
Jerry, turn on your mic. Can you hear us?
I don't think he can hear us.
Oh, I wish we could do that at rehearsal. Look, he keeps going.
Are you there?
Oh, there you are.
You turned your mic off.
I actually, no, I didn't turn my mic off. Somebody tried calling me while I was doing this interview.
Oh,
okay.
All together.
Oh, so they're more
What I
important.
was saying is that I don't know if these songs were like, mixed in at a higher bit rate or remixed all together. It sounds incredible. I just don't know. Scott, do you have any?
It depends on what you're listening to and what you're listening to it on. And if you're listening to it on the exact same system through the exact same, amplifier, so forth and so on, it shouldn't be that dramatically different. But the idea of like, depending upon the movie, they may spread it out more, so that if it's just part of the soundtrack, it's one thing. But if it's background music, they'll spread it out a little bit more, so there's more room for the dialogue. So sometimes that'll add space, it'll add oomph, but I don't think they specifically do anything different. But
My dog growled and agreed with that.
you can't really do an apples to apples comparison unless you're listening to the exact same thing on the exact same system.
well, and I mean, I thought that a lot of movies for, blockbusters especially, were mixed in 7.1, for example, rather than just standard 2-channel stereo. So I would guess that would give them more opportunities to do
More separation.
which is to separate things out. And so I don't know if actual bona fide, like, I don't know if songs are being remixed for 7.1 necessarily, but there's something going on to enhance them.
There was this one movie with Nicolas Cage is in just recently called Mandy, and in the beginning title, it was King Crimson Starless, which was
nice.
really weird. And it sounded slightly different, but for some reason it sounded a little more uh, cinematic sound, had a broader sound to it.
More
That was a-
punchy, it brought out stuff you didn't hear before, maybe.
Yeah, I'm, I think because like you guys were saying, they opened it up more, and first of all, I was surprised to even hear that on a movie,
Yeah, right.
let alone that, that. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Sure.
and it was of all things, it was kind of, I wouldn't say horror, but it was, it was pretty violent movie.
Somebody got smart and put it in there.
I think the director was a fan.
Yeah, that's what it is. Somebody's a fan.
Yeah, and they're willing to pay the licensing to get it in there.
Speaking of licensing, I got involved in a conversation just the other day about why a lot of these digital radio mediums do not have prog stations.
Hmm.
Maybe more people would know about, everybody that's out in the internet world, Matt, I know you included, and people who have radio shows
Right.
do their best to promote, they're not just only playing progressive music, but, popular and everything, jazz, whatever they want to do, because they're their own people. They make their own playlists, which is great, but I just don't understand. There are stations that come close. There's like, I guess Sirius has a station called Deep Tracks, and there's a few other stations like that, like jam bands and things like that, to where they play, a little bit more adventurous material, but it's just doesn't seem like anybody's wanting to take the step to, actually up the ante so more people could, oh, what's this? And listen to it and figure out that they like it, because a lot of young kids that I play our style of music for, or other bands that play the same style that I like, when that's come to a situation like that, they're going, where can I get this? This is great.
Well, a majority of the general audience out there, they really want to hear something different, but they don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Because radio stations, and then at the time MTV, were only playing a certain part of the spectrum of music.
Yep.
They weren't touching anything else. They were playing, I would say, safe bands, that, we've heard them all before, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, yes,
Aerosmith.
Genesis, Aerosmith, all these safe ones, and you play them over and over again. But then there could, instead of like going outward and seeing, well, there's more bands out there, because I'm discovering stuff that I missed out in the 70s and 80s, that it just completely, flew under its radar, and it's like, I'm finding these things out.
That's been part of the cool thing about the shutdown is I've gone back and discovered whole discographies of people that I heard one song off of the hit off of the album, and you realize that okay, they've got 4 other albums, so ain't got anything else to do, let's listen to 4 albums worth of their stuff. And you finally like completely obscure dude Martin Briley had a hit in the 80s, and I thought, okay, let's listen to the rest of the album. And the guy's got 3 or 4 other albums that sound great. They were released like in the mid 80s. Just really cool pop, good pop, perfect stuff. Matt, me and you could go all day on stuff. We could go all day on this.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, I had a friend of mine, Brian, that he was talking about these bands, these 2 bands, Trillion and Zon. And Zon was a big, well, not big, but they were a Canadian band. And they're kind of on the lines of more rock sounding Saga and
Oh,
they
nice.
have a little bit of stick sound to it. And I never heard of these bands before. And one was in 1978, the other one's I think 80 something, 81 or 82. Never heard of them before. And you know, these are I think it's a shame that people don't hear these bands. You know, whether or not you like them, that's a different thing. But it's like at least you're aware that these bands are out there. I never heard of them before.
Yeah, there's two other Canadian bands that did okay. I mean, they weren't like over the top sellers, but I mean, one was Symphonic Slam with
I heard of them.
they did two records. The first one was the better one. They got signed on A&M. They did pretty good with the first one. The second one didn't do that great. I mean, it kind of dogged out. And the other one was signed out of EMI Canada called True Myth, and they were pretty good too. Real kind of progressive with a little bit of pop essence to them, but very progressive, very, you know, kind of symphonic prog driven type band. And it's really kind of interesting because when you listen to that record, it's the same guy singing, but half the time he sounds like John Anderson, and the other half of the album he sounds like Greg Lake. So it's like it's really kind of bizarre. The guy can like sing in two different styles, but it's the same guy.
Right.
I mean, the tinge in his voice, the tone in his voice goes different.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting.
Kind of sounds like he's a chameleon in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about, especially lately, and I mentioned this at one point on social media just because it flashed through my head and I was musing on the concept. Just how the five of us have a large pool of bands or artists that are all sitting in the middle of our interests. You know, there's stuff that all five of us really, really dig and really, really love. But then each of us might be like, oh, this record really turned me on. Oh, this one, you know, and each of us, you know, like I was saying, like if we went around and tried to guess what everyone's favorite Who record was or whatever everyone's favorite Yes record was, you might actually get 5 different answers out of all of us. But what I'm most interested in is the way that all of us bring that collective history of everything we've heard over our lifetimes into the room and then watch how some of it bounces off. Like I know when I'm listening to Mike come up, like when he brings in a new idea, or if Mark and Jerry are like jamming on a groove or something, that's like a direct, I hear what they're doing and my head goes, oh man, what might sound cool or unusual over this, but would still work. And then see what happens with everyone's collective influences and the way it congeals to form whatever we happen to sound like. I've always been big on that, you know. And I think it's partly because I know when I've written alone, which I don't do as well anymore as I used to, I would get tired of my own cliches. I'd get tired of my own tricks. And the cool thing about working with other musicians that are so brilliant and so full of music, like the 4 of my co-hosts are, is that you bring something in, everybody brings something in, and you can guarantee that what comes out the other side is going to have other elements that you couldn't have imagined if you tried to do it yourself. And, you know, 99 times out of 100, it comes out more, better, you know, like it's richer. There's more to it. Like for the first record, each of us had some song ideas that we brought in. Some of them were more or less complete, some of them weren't. I had this old thing that I had written when I was like 18 or 19. It was just this piano piece. And another one that I'd written when I was about 24, but they were never really completed. They were just ideas. And I remember playing them for the guys. And I remember Jerry going, oh, wait a minute, take the first half of that and put the second half of that on top of it. And let's see how it sounds. Like we would get in there and really dig in and mess around with ideas. And then I remember Scott taking that tape home and writing some lyrics to it. He brought it back and I was just, oh, wow, that sounds fantastic. I never, ever could have come up with that on my own. That the whole thing about collaboration is such a wonderful thing. Mike will bring in a lot of stuff and he'll say, I have this thing. I really like this part. This part, maybe you guys do something with, see what you can come up with. And a lot of times we'll Frankenstein ideas until they come out in the right order.
And then ding, 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 winner, winner.
Winner, yeah, chicken dinner, and that's the part of being in a band that fascinates me the most, is taking all of that stuff and anything that any one of us was listening to last week and tripping out on could find its way somewhere into the soup. I love that.
That's why it's tough for us to survive during a pandemic with our writing. We can throw the ideas and put them on the back burner, but until we have a chance to get back in that room again, because in the room is where it happens for this band. It isn't individually. There's individual stuff, but when we get together, it's completely different. And so I think we recognize that, and then that's the strength for us, So, when we have that chance to get back together, that's where we know our writing will get to that next level, because the initial starting points are always there.
Yeah.
But when we bang it around in the room, then it takes shape, and it tends to be quite a bit better.
It's good that we have these 4 tunes that are more or less structurally, like the skeletons of them are basically completed. And now it's a matter of, well, how do we want them to sound? It's easier to do that kind of work isolated. I know that for myself, like when we're jamming and coming up with ideas, and maybe maybe the previous week, one of us brought something in that kind of lit a fire under everyone. And that happens, and it's a great feeling. But there's this energy that's generated in the room, and it's hard to recapture that when you're not in the room and everyone's watching each other's responses, and like, maybe you dig in harder on that groove, or, one of us might accidentally, it's usually me, because sometimes I can't remember the lengths of certain arrangements. I might play one thing 1 2 many times, or 1 2 few times, but then everyone will be like, actually, that felt okay. Let's do it that way. Or I'll stop and go, wait, that was longer, wasn't it? And then we'll do it again. But the energy that's created is it feeds into the songs. It feeds into the whole, and it really does keep the momentum going. So I'm glad we were able to get as much done as we were before we had to stop going to Uncle. I mean, I was supposed to go to see Humphreys McGee, like that I think you said it was March 14th that everything went on lockdown. And Humphreys, who I'd never seen, but I was curious about. I don't know if you guys know who they are. They're a jam band out of Georgia, but they do a lot of very progressive-minded things, and they're intricate. They've got really
What
good.
band is that?
Humphreys McGee.
Ah.
Yeah, and I've had friends who are like, "Oh, you got to see them. They're really wonderful, and every show's different. They have that ethos of changing up the set every night, not playing the songs the same way twice." And their list of influences is massive. It's not just jam bands that they love. I think they got booked to play the last Near Fest, and it was the one that was canceled. So
Actually, no, didn't that go through, Matt? I thought they had that.
They did.
Oh, they did have it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. They were that was the last one. That's right.
I was hoping to get in on that before it ended, but oh well.
Yeah, I know. That would have been cool. Anyway, it's just I love the whole energy of being in a room with other musicians and watching what can happen and being an active participant or not. Like sometimes I'll just sit and listen to everybody groove and go, I don't need to do anything on this. It already sounds fantastic.
And then I leave the room and go, why hasn't Matt come up with anything? I know something's stirring in his head. Why is that?
Sometimes that's why, because sometimes it's like, dude, it already sounds good where it is. If I'm going to do anything, it's going to be like a chord here or like a single line or something. Jerry, I remember one time Jerry and I had this conversation when we were working on the record. I think it was while we were working on the middle part of Carousel. And I have a habit of coming in and just bringing one keyboard and kind of playing through everything. And it's all up here. And I know the other guys get frustrated. They're like, well, when are we going to hear the parts you're coming up with? And there was one thing that we had done. It was this kind of odd metered section. And I went to Mike's and we started working on the keyboard parts. And, or maybe Mike, maybe we did this one all at Jerry's. I don't know.
Yeah, we did it at my place, I think.
Yeah, because Mike had a system that was kind of mobile, so he could bring what we needed. And we started working on some of this stuff. And Jerry was there and he's watching me. And he's like, because this is the part that he's going, what? I don't know what's this part supposed to be. And then I don't know what happened. I played a line and thought, well, it didn't feel like a solo. It felt more like a written part. And then all of a sudden, like a couple days later, Jerry calls me and goes, oh, so that's what you had in mind in that section. Sometimes that's how these things go. You know, sometimes they hit in a blast of inspiration, and other times you gotta let them simmer for a little while. And, you know, yeah, you let them marinate, and you know,
Good,
you know,
good job, Mark.
yeah, definitely. So it's fun, and Mike and I have an interesting, cool thing we get to do with regards to, okay, we're the two main chordal instruments most of the time. How do we get to dance around one another? It's a fun thing, you know, and it's evolving. Even into the live show, it evolves. Like, okay, well, you did 4 overdubs and I did 4, and we only have 2 hands apiece. So which parts are we going to play in concert? You know,
Each other's parts, and it always comes out better anyway.
right? Sometimes we end up playing each other's shit. It's really cool. It's fun.
We actually have a hamster in the cage backstage that plays the other parts.
No, that's Ron's hamster. That's Ron's hamster.
He did not come cheap.
Yeah, he's right over there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he was actually turned on to us by Yanni.
Oh. We had to send him to conservatory so he could learn to play all those parts. But all 5 of us have these bursts of ideas. You know, Mark came in with he had the majority of the song Birthright. And initially it started out sounding, I think initially it was like this sort of Robin Trower meets King's X vibe. It was very heavy, you know?
yeah, definitely the King's X vibe on that one.
Yeah.
Initially.
Yeah, and I think it's some of that's still in there for sure. But it was really funny the way that, you know, you bring something in and everybody hears something in it that they dig, and they just go, oh, yeah, let's keep working on that. You know, what can we do with this? That's one of the most satisfying things about being in a group. And Jerry has a lot of wonderful arrangemental ideas and vocal ideas, and Scott will often do a lot with taking basically, like, he'll take the rehearsal tapes in addition to lyrics and melodies. He'll take our rehearsal tapes and he'll hear things in them that we don't. Like, he might hear us playing, like jamming on an instrumental section, and we don't know if it's going to remain an instrumental section or not. He might hear it and go, that could actually be a chorus. That could actually be a bridge. You know, that might be an intro. And so we come back in a couple weeks, and there's this new audio file that he took through Pro Tools or whatever, and kind of Frankensteined it, and we have a new arrangement. So it's important to be open in that kind of environment, because you come back in a couple of weeks and what you thought you were working on might actually end up looking a little different the next time, because one of us said, oh man, what if we took this part and made it longer, or brought this to the front, or there's a lot of that goes on. And I think that seems to be like just one of the many ways to write longer pieces of music.
And it's a lot of fun because you never know what to expect. You know, you turn it around and all of a sudden there's a whole different thing, and we change the key up a step or something, and the music takes off differently than you ever heard it before.
Or you're playing part A and then part B, and you've been rehearsing it, and now all of a sudden you have a longer piece of music, and then somebody says, let's put part B where part A was, or part C where part A was, and then keep the rest of it the way it is, and then you play it and it's like, oh wow, this is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, that's a great way to work on material, and especially when you're going for music that its purpose is to take you on a bit of a ride.
Right, exactly, a journey.
Yeah, you want to be open to where that ride could potentially go. So I used to get really upset at myself because my short-term memory has worsened over the last 10 years, and I would frequently forget stuff. But then I realized that, like, usually within every couple of weeks, we would change things up anyway. So as long as something was on tape, I was okay. Huh?
You started taking your Ginkgo biloba, and now you're fine, right?
Right, now I'm like, forget it, I don't need it. You know, that's just exciting to be able to be in that kind of environment where you know that what's going to come out the other side is going to be really special. You know, we had a good part of that with Heliopolis too. It's in a different dimension now, though. You know, it's incredible how just changing out one person in a lineup, how much it can do to affect what happens.
It made us into more of a live writing group. You know,
Yeah.
because before we just come in with stuff and here it is, and let's just learn it. And we didn't really bang it around as much, but now it's like we start right at the top of it and start working on it, you know, and see if it's going to work vocally, you know, and if Scott's frowning, then we're all in trouble, you know, so. That was part of the thing with Birthright, because if we had an approach like Doug Pinnick would take, which is a completely different voice than Scott, it might have worked for some of it, but we had to open it up more to allow more of a verse chorus kind of interplay, you know. So we're always doing that with tunes, you know. We have to.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I'm glad you guys, you know, you do a lot of, you know, bring up a lot of different ideas into your songwriting, and then, you know, create something brand, you know, new, or maybe a new approach to it. You know,
It's a different approach in some ways also, because we brought Mark in, and Mark's a drummer. Mark's the drummer for 10 Gin, and but Mark plays like 35 instruments. So and brought in for musicality, and, you know, working with him, lots of ideas on a lot of different types of styles. So, you know, you're going to get a whole different, you know, perspective of it with that kind of musician in the band. So he's fit in perfect, you know, and Jerry's a great drummer. So and Matt plays drums. So, you know, we could do 3 drummers on stage. Me and Scott will go sit in the audience during one of the shows.
And then we'll throw sticks at you when we're done.
Yeah.
Here, hit this, here. Yeah, I mean, you know, and Mark and I are interesting because when we met working with our friend Brian, when there were breaks in rehearsal, we would invariably be like, both going to the piano going, dude, check this out. And
You know this song.
yeah, like this part of this thing, or, you know, whatever.
And I knew Matt was gonna be cool to work with because he knew the deep cuts on records, you know, like the song that's, you know, side 2, song 4.
Right.
Buried in the record, you know. Yeah. But when it came to, we realized that when we started to write, Like what Mike said earlier with the Heliopolis record, a lot of the songs on that record a lot of them were brought in mostly complete, and then the group would manipulate them here and there. I mean, there were a few new sections written for most of them, but a lot of it was a little more set in stone. Whereas this time, it wasn't like that. I mean, I brought in a full tune, but it got a complete makeover, and it came out way, way better as a result. The thing about Mark and I is that Mark's great at all kinds of different things. He's got a lot of different compositional tools up his sleeve. He's real good at turnarounds too, like getting from one section to the next. And sometimes we'll be like stuck on an idea, knowing that it needs to go somewhere. Like,
Or
okay,
back to the top.
right, back to the top or to this part.
I have to rein these guys in. It's like way far. It feels like we got to get back to the top, guys.
Yeah, and that's good. You need, I sometimes do that too, but you need to have that in a group, But a lot of times he and I will be thinking the same thing, and we'll look at each other and go, "Oh, that's how it was supposed to go." Okay. And then the other guys will go, "Oh, dude, wait, okay, well, let me learn that. What was that?" And maybe we'll still end up flipping it upside down, but the idea is there, And that's all of these things are so important to the construction of the material and how it eventually comes out on the other side. So, so if we sound like us, it's just because of all that. All that flippity floppity,
Because of all that.
And it's great, I resisted playing this kind of music or trying to write it because for a long time I just held my heroes in such high regard that I thought, I'm never going to write anything as good as blah, blah, blah. Why should I even bother?
Oh, shut up.
Well, thanks. I met Jerry and he's like, dude, don't think like that. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try not thinking like that. Let's see what happens,
And look what happened.
It would be the same as your heroes, if they go, well, I don't want to sound like the generation before, my heroes, don't want to make my own music, and just stay with playing, So it's like, it's like, play what you want to play, and if, and don't feel, that's the one thing I don't like with progressive rock nowadays. It's two camps. We're gonna play the safe stuff that everybody knows, or we're gonna play stuff that is so out there that people are gonna feel like they got into a Twilight Zone episode, like, what's going on here? And it's like, I like when bands do something a little different. And that's one of the things with your CD. It's, you guys do something different than what, I'm going to say the Genesis clones, the Yes clones that have been out there for decades and decades, and it's like, how many more bands do we need like that? We don't. We got plenty of those. We need bands that are, they might have little bits and pieces here and there of those bands, but they're taking a fresher approach to things. That's what, when I listen to your music, that's what I hear.
To get onto that subject, there is, a real good, I guess, arranging tool about the familiarity of something. But to see if you can make that familiarity be your own instead of just trying to actually totally blatantly do it, are two different things. And I believe that that it's good. I mean, familiarity a lot of times sells good, but as far as like, hearing something and going, okay, well, I've heard this, 300 times before, You know, that's where that type of, you know, influence in your writing, you know, kind of can go a little bit south, you know, if you're trying to do it like that.
Well, years ago in the early '90s, I had a friend of mine in his band who was a hard rock with some progressive sounds. And they did a couple ELP tunes, and they were a trio: guitar, bass, and drums. And the guitar player did Keith Emerson's parts on his guitar. I think they did Tarkus, and they had various different lengths of that song. They did it from the album length, and then he said one time they had like a 40-minute length version of it when they played live. But and then they were trying to do something. And I told them, whatever genre of music you do, make the songs timeless. So whatever time period you listen to it, it doesn't sound dated. And I said, and then your songs, you know, will be out there for people to listen, and they'll say, hey, you know, that doesn't sound like the 80s. That doesn't sound like the 70s. It sounds like, you know, it's, you know, you can listen to it in any context of what, you know. And I told him, I said, that's what you need to do is when you write your songs, is just think of it. Is this song going to last more than the time that it takes to put on your CD?
You know what alleviates all of that? Do you believe it? Do you, as the artist, as the writer, do you believe it? Is it coming from here? If it's coming from here, then screw it. I don't want to. If it's coming out of your head, I don't care. That's one of the things about this band that I like insisted on when I joined it. I didn't want to be in a band full of wankery. Don't care. I don't care if you can play a gazillion notes a minute. Play one like Stevie Ray Vaughan and make me understand. Play from your heart. Write.
Oh yeah.
If you play and write from your heart, then the timelessness is baked in.
Yeah.
Baked in.
And then we just need to learn how to utilize that. Start with the heart, and then realize the five of us are going to contribute.
And
it's already come from that.
Forever. Bohemian Rhapsody, bang, done. Bohemian Rhapsody. Kids that weren't born when that song was a hit. Kids whose parents weren't born when that song was a hit. By heart from front to back, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's not something out of the brain. That's like Freddie Mercury felt every minute of that song.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they had to have the tools to be able to realize it, but it all came from here.
It's all here, you know.
You know.
Starts here, then I mean it's.
I think as long as we don't lose the spirit of something. I know that's been a big thing for me all along, on both of these projects, is, you know, whatever song is going to be coming out the other side of the mixing bowl, that the spirit and the intent of what you're trying to communicate, what messages or emotions you're trying to communicate, all needs to be there. And whatever we do instrumentally has to serve that, you know. And we might have songs where there's a blast of energy and something that would be virtuosic, but also as long as it serves the message, you know, as long as it serves the song, we're good, you know. And that's been a big deal. Pretty much all along. And you know, Scott's written some wonderful lyrics. I mean, obviously you did these two records, and then the Box of Shamans project that was, you know, predominantly it was Mike and Scott's baby, and then Jerry played drums on it. You know, the message is important, and we got to do, you know, like sometimes he'll write to us, But sometimes we'll write to him too. Like he'll bring in a lyric, and I might look at it and go, maybe this piece of music might go real well with this sentiment. You know, they need to serve one another. You know, and that's also another part about making sure that you're connecting from your heart and from your gut. You know, because you're right, you do have to believe it. You know, we got to be out there, you know, playing music that we believe in and that we have conviction behind. We're more likely to sell it to somebody else if we're on board with it, you know.
Go on stage and play it in front of people.
Yeah.
That's you really want to believe it then, because then that sticks, you know. You got it.
If you're fumbling all over it, you probably think, oh yeah, they believe it. He can't play
Yeah.
it.
That shows they're 100%.
Yeah.
He can't play it.
Oh, it's good, you know.
Well, I do like, I'd rather have, you know, like you're saying, music from the soul than some guy going, you know, it's like, that's fantastic. You guys, you know, you can play a million notes per second, you know, that's fantastic. But, you know, I'm gonna forget that song.
Ron, are you gonna be walking through the grocery store one day and humming that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No,
Exactly. That's you know, I know this guy, I'll probably get crucified a little bit about this, but hooks are important. I don't care what genre of music you're talking about. A hook is important. Something that the audience is the dude is gonna be sitting there cooking a egg, bacon and eggs, and he's humming a little two bar line in his head that just got stuck there for no reason. A hook is important.
Da 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 da.
There you go.
There's a
Yeah.
hook.
The riffs are hooks, man. I mean, it's true. A lot of the best stuff that came out of this kind of more exploratory kind of arty or rock music all has hooks in it, and they're more hooks than a tackle box, you know. And you walk around the mall singing them, going, you know, all right, that's cool. You know, or
Exactly.
they stick.
Exactly. That one thing that just gets stuck in your head just for a second will bring you back around to go listen to the song again.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
it's important. I know that. Yeah, it was a lot of. I think that was important probably for all five of us. That, you know, there's a lot of modern proggy stuff that has incredible technical flair, and you go see it and you're just like, damn, you know. But I also want to make sure I come away remembering the songs or aspects of the songs. And I think it's more of an old school approach where you have a combo of you make sure that your songs are strong, and then you have all the freedom in the world to dress them up whatever way you like, you know. And then at that point you get these, like, I always think that big bursts of virtuosity sound more powerful when they're not coming where you expect them.
All about
As long as they serve the tune, you know, it's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. That was cool. You know, that galvanized that arrangement. It added something special to it. And at the end of the day, you're still in your car and the hook comes back to your head, you know. So,
Yeah, there's not many. I mean, again, like going back to those, I kind of think of those bands that everybody sounds the same. I'm not, even though they got great musicianship, I'm not really going to remember a lot of that stuff. I like something that stands out. That's still, you know, the song will stay in my head, but you know, it's different. It's different while kind of the same, if that makes any sense. You know, it's like,
I kind of call it A&R drab, like some metal band made it really big in the 80s, and all of a sudden, here's Atlanta getting on the bandwagon. They have a band that sounds like them. And then all of a sudden, Hologram has a band like them. And then Warner Brothers has a band like them. Then everybody's got a band like them. And now all of a sudden I'm listening to, a station, and I'll remember this right away. Pearl Jam started it out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you had STP. And then you had Alice in Chains. And then you had, Soundgarden. I'm mentioning the 4 bands that I really liked out of that era.
Right.
But
then you got clones of them.
Kind of, when they first came out, I guess maybe until after their second record, and they actually were able to strike a little bit more of identity, in their music. It was just kind of like, was that Pearl Jam I just listened to, or who was that? There was no identifying mark. And I remember listening to an interview with Greg Lake one time, and he goes, music was so animated before. It had, life, and every band had a character, and it, there was something unique about each identifying band or artist that came out. And now it's like, going to the supermarket. It's all market led. There's no spirit behind it.
Deep. That was deep, Jerry.
It's true. We're kind of free from that now.
We are. There's a lot of freedom now.
The way
everybody's got their own thing. Yeah.
The market's changed so drastically that it's kind of come back to
the artist.
Yeah. And you do what moves you. And if it moves one of us, and you play it for one of the others and it moves them, and then the whole group gets on board, we kind of feel like, all right, well, if this is moving us, then maybe it has the opportunity to move somebody else too. And part of that is, you have the freedom to kind of create your own identity. And I'm very glad that, both of these projects have a different sound to them. They kind of have their own identity, even though it's a lot of the same people. There's that drive to say, well, okay, what is this group of people? What do they sound like? How do they put it together? And even I'm looking at approaches for the next record, and I'm conscious about not wanting to repeat myself too much. If a certain approach is appropriate for it, too much. Repeat. Right.
Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. If an approach is appropriate for a song, sure, but they should all be unique from one another.
I think our goal is to not even have it sound like the last one. The next one's completely different. We don't want to hear the other one anymore, in a sense. Just go to the next one. Let's get the next one. And something newer, different, not have the same approach. What else can we flesh out creatively, out of this, if we could do something different?
I think also too, with the album that we released this year too, we didn't really have we need to tie all these songs together or make it sound like a concept record or anything. They all kind of had their own identifying marker to them, which was very good, I thought. And unless you're really consciously trying to write a concept record, but because once we finished, we were on a roll. We had 2 or 3 going, and then all of a sudden somebody brings in a different song, and now that song sounds totally different than the song we just did. I'm like, okay, there's going to be a bunch of color on this record, and that's definitely what I think we were shooting for at the beginning, and I think we got it. So, and once we heard the cohesive work back, that was my, conclusion, is that we had a bunch of different colors.
Yeah, and We had a lot of different ways to fit those colors together. You know, the sequence changed a few times as far as what would be the best opening tune, what would be the best closing tune. And even if you're not dealing with a record that is a concept, you want it to sound cohesive.
Well,
And, you know, big deal to be able to have it all flow nicely. You know, that's important. Even if we're in the age of streaming and downloads, still want to treat it like something that you would want to hear from top to bottom, no matter what the format is, you know, and have it work.
Something to cherish your, desert island record.
Right.
Something that you want to listen to over and over again and enjoy. Because that's what music gave us in the world, to enjoy it, to have it as a companion, to listen to it when we're down or happy or want to forget about whatever else is going on. We got it.
Yeah.
Well, music for me personally was never more important than it was last summer. And coming out of that, the heart attack and open heart surgery, I needed that, and music was something very important. And it kept me grounded in a way, and also made me not feel sorry for myself. Like, I'm still shocked that it happened, but it's like, it felt like that was really like an episode of, like, out of the Twilight Zone or something. That, where did this come from? It just was no warning signs whatsoever. But music, when I was in the hospital, and then when I got home, it kept me grounded. And that's what, going back to the soul of the music, that's where a lot of stuff, to me, regardless of whether it's a 2-minute song or an hour-long song, it kept me going. And then all of a sudden I was remembering, okay, well, what song would be perfect for this situation? And just kind of out of memory trying to figure it out. But then sometimes I'd have to go online and go, look at different things and listen to things over again that I hadn't listened to in a while, and go, well, maybe this is going to work out, to help heal me. And that's it. It really did. So it's like music heals you, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
And
quite aware. I'm looking at this is the 4th year since I had a pretty major life-threatening situation that happened exactly 4 years ago now. And what you say about the healing force of power of music is absolutely the truth. After a couple of surgeries, being able to come home and just play my guitars and write again and listen to music without being on heavy duty narcotics was awesome, and brought me back from the dead, if you will.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine how it is as a musician. If I was a musician and that happened, how I'd with that. But as a listener, all I had to do is just remember the albums, going back as far as I can go back. I think I told Matt the 2 first cassettes I ever bought was Queen, the greatest hits, and Classic Yes on cassette. And I had no idea. They were different sounding rock bands. I had no idea. Especially Yes, that was progressive rock. And that was in the early 80s, when I got into that. And so I went as far as back then to listen to some of the stuff to just before having the heart attack, So it's like, it, one that I'll tell you, and it was just a coincidence. I wasn't really going to pick it out, was that band I was telling you about, Echoland. A few years back, they released one song. It was a one-song album called May, M-E-I, 50-minute song. And it was a journey, and it's a life's journey. And that's what, when I heard that, it just basically, it took me away from what I was going through to whatever journey, felt like I was on the road somewhere else, and and it was a good healing thing for me. And everybody, I'm sure each one of you, if you had some kind of a song that all of a sudden, whether it was a surgery or a drastic life change, that a song that you could probably go to and say, this is what your soundtrack, as to what you were going through at that time. And
Yeah.
But
I think
It's
we're all fans in addition to being people who create.
oh yeah,
And I don't think that even if you immerse yourself in the creative process and get lost in it, you're still a fan. So like, there's always going to be there's always going to be benchmarks and things that defined your taste along the way, but also act as mile markers when something significant happened.
yes,
Or if or something that made you all of a sudden hear things differently or think about things differently. And it could be as simple as a particular lyric writer. All of a sudden they said something and you thought, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way before. And that's great. I mean, that's so important. I know that, like, given how apathetic and how cynical a lot of the population has become, understandably so too. Like, I remember being very happy with the tone of our songs with both Heliopolis and AmuZeum. I love that we've definitely got some darkness in there. There's light and shade. In the end, though, if I'm putting words into your mouth, Scott, let me know, because I don't want to do that. But the whole thing about hope being important and projecting a certain amount of good spiritual energy and good spiritual mojo, I think that, to me, that's kind of become a hallmark of a lot of what we do, and I don't hear that a lot around me, but I think it can be really inspirational for other people. And maybe if we're lucky enough, maybe one of our records will be something that someone ends up being their album, in terms of, I was going through a rough time, but this got me through.
Or it's available in every meditation shop in the world.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the idea basically is that there's, it's easy to find the negativity. It's hard to kind of look for the positivity. And like the very first song on the record, The Challenge, it's a lot of times everybody just sees the challenge. They just see the crap that they're in. And then therefore you stay in that. You got to get beyond just being in the challenge. You have to say, what's this all about? And there's something on the other side of it. Good, bad, or indifferent, but just get out of it. Yeah.
Right. What's that saying? If you're going through hell, keep going.
Yep. Whereas the latest lyric, let go, find a way.
Right. Yeah. And even some of the other newer ideas that are coming down the pike, there's one that is, I won't give it away, but there's one that's very, very tied into the climate that we've been living in for the last several years. I'm really interested to see how that looks when it's a totally finished song. Because it was one of those things that Mark brought the original idea in, and all of us are like, oh yeah, this has to be on the next record. No doubt, you know, what can we do with it? You know, but even in the midst of that, with the amount of the Twilight Zone quality we've been living in basically for the last few years, only made even more so by the events of this year. You do have to look for the good, because it is there.
Oh yeah, it is there. It's just
Not always easy
sometimes
to see, but it's there, you know.
sometimes you gotta look a little bit, you know. But you know, I'm lately just been very optimistic. You know, I'm trying. That's why I don't watch the TV anymore. I just stopped. You know, it's just too much negative stuff going on. I mean, I may just listen to see what about the cases here in Maine for the COVID, but other than that, I can't listen to any of that for more than a few minutes, because if I do, I'll probably I'll go to a dark place.
It's hard on everyone's psyche. There's no doubt. We got to do things to keep ourselves grounded. Otherwise, yeah, you go down that rabbit hole.
To use a colorful reference that's behind Matt, who are you?
Yes. In the end, that becomes a very, very important question. And I think for artists, part of finding out who you are is through what you create. You know?
And the people you surround yourself with. You know, I mean, that's the main thing. You got to be able to, if you're around a bunch of idiots, you got to be able to step outside that and say, I don't want this for myself.
Right. A big part of forming this group too, and having this lineup and doing these things, is that the five of us really we care about each other and we respect each other, and we help kind of help keep each other up in a way. You know what I mean? You know, at any given point, any one of us will come into rehearsal going, "Oh God, the week I've had," you know, and then you let it out, and then you've got your band of brothers to kind of help you process that, and then you play, and then the vibe in the room changes. But you know, the fact that we all dig each other and respect each other and have that bond, it definitely works its way into the music too. I think that's super important, rather than just, here's five guys who play pretty well together, but they don't really know one another. You know, they don't really care to know one another. We've all known bands like that. You know, that's not how this works. You know?
And your name is?
And your name is?
Oh shit, I forgot.
That'll give you a hint.
I mean, we could all take up characters and stuff, but yeah.
What's on? You know, obviously, I know that you're writing music and everything.
Yeah.
What's on the horizon for 2021?
We'd like to be able to play live again. That's number one. I mean, of course, we want to write and finish the second record and make it good. But we all miss the stage just like everybody else. I mean, I've spoken to some pretty big people within the last few days, and they miss it too. I won't mention any names, but people I know personally.
Well,
and
tell them that you talked to me. It's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. Yeah, you were one of them, Scott. But,
well, you know, I think it's great that we could get back to live things, but you know, we got to make sure that and it's not happening, is people aren't wearing their mask. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
I
you
mean-
asked the question, what is in store for us? Look, who knows? Who
Yeah.
has a clue? Dude? We
Yeah.
Nobody knew that this year would blow up like it did, and we would be doing this. You know what I mean? So it's like that's one of those. That's kind of the. It kind of is the question of the hour. What is on the horizon for anybody?
Yeah.
We know what we want to do. What are we going to be able to do? Who knows? We'll
right.
We've got to be extraordinarily flexible.
cross that bridge when we get to it.
I mean,
Yeah.
even in the population where I'm at compared to where you guys are at, people are still not wearing the mask. So we are getting cases.
You
Yeah.
guys going up?
And I've mentioned to Matt, I said, when I go shopping and I see someone coming down the aisle with no mask on, I go to another aisle. I don't even want to confront them. It's like,
You should because we mask shame out here hard.
There is a lot of
oh
it.
yeah, well, I can use this on them.
They come at you, and I mean, I've kind of got into it too.
Yeah. I've gotten into it a little bit in a few instances. It's not in my nature to do so, but
Nor I, but we're sharing the same zone. Where's your mask, yo?
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey,
You're not
Ron.
new. You're not
Yes.
new. It just didn't start yesterday.
Ron, I was at a yogurt zone about 5 or 6 months ago, and these two guys came in, no mask. It says right on the door, mask required. Okay, so these guys came into, these two guys came in the door. The manager was behind the sales counter. Hey guys, you need to put on your masks. Please, you need to do it, or I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. And one of the guys looked over and went, "Psh, yeah, right." So then little bulb went off in my head, and I looked at the guys with a mask on, and I said, "Hey, guys, I work at a hospital, okay? And there is an ICU specific for COVID patients at this hospital. If you guys are disbelievers, pile in my car. We'll take a ride over to the hospital. I'll parade you right into the ICU, and you can see all the patients that are now suffering because people are not being responsible and doing what they're supposed to do. Would you like to come? We can go right now. I'm not doing anything. All I'm doing is getting yogurt. That's
Right.
it." So of course, what happened next? They both kind of looked down, put on their masks really quick and got in line. So you got to, you kind of have to,
So
be
instead
nice
of
about it, but also be, stern about it at the same time.
so now is that a new series, Jerry? Instead of Drive Through with Jerry, it's Yogurt Land with Jerry, or what is it?
That'd be cool.
Adventures in Yogurt with Jerry Beller?
Yeah, I've got
already know
a
about
bunch of different shows I'm working on at once.
I love you for it, man. It's cool.
Good.
And
Yeah.
just with Mark saying to looking at somebody and saying, "Hey, look, we're sharing the same zone." That's a new title for a song, The Zone.
Oh yeah, that totally is.
Oh, we're looking at the same zone.
Yeah. So please, all of you remember that, because as soon as we get done with this, I'm done. I won't.
Well, it'll be on YouTube. We can always. Please note,
anytime.
Somewhere in this, lengthy interview thing, Scott said a really cool title. So where
Okay.
was it?
let it be known that 1 hour 56 minutes in, this was said. But I think, I know all of us knew what we wanted 2020 to look like, and it definitely came out different. And
Yeah.
it was neat. We needed to be okay with it, even when we weren't okay with it. You know what I mean? And now
I
it's
was, at least for me, I was glad that, because I am taking it and took it very serious from the very beginning. And
yeah, we all
you
did.
never know how other people are going to react. So I was pleased that it didn't have to be an issue in this band of like, oh, come on, you guys, who cares? Let's just get together, And it was like,
Right.
I'm going to have to say, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And, that's it.
We all
So
agree too.
So that was a good thing. And for me, as far as I just would like to like get together and see these guys again in person, have a beer,
I'm
laugh,
sure.
sing some vocals, write some parts, and tell stupid stories to each other and make each other laugh, waste hours of time that we pay for in the studio.
Drink
doing
some
nothing.
Angry Elephant.
Yeah,
You
except,
can't do that
except
when we go to your house, Scott, or anything like that. For free.
yeah,
Right,
Well,
for
well,
free.
back when it started, I posted on Facebook a couple of times. I go, I'm not sure if you've seen the TV show Black Mirror, and I just posted a thing that said, "This episode of Black Mirror sucks."
Yeah. I remember seeing that, and I have seen that show, and it's appropriate.
I think 2020 is a whole long episode.
I want to get one of those mugs that says 2020 and it's got 1 star out of 5, and on the bottom it says would not recommend.
Yeah.
I got one that says 2020 sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like one of the only good things that came out of this year was that we put our record out. Thank God for that, because here I am. I just turned 50, and there ain't no party until maybe next year or the year after. It's just not happening. Everybody.
I don't think it's probably, we would do well to abandon any plans for Cruise to the Edge. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. If you guys want to do that, you might have to find a sub, or I'll zoom my parts in.
There you go.
Well, it is 2022. So I'm hoping by the time 2021 nears its end, that we're at least somewhat back to normal, whatever normal is.
A new normal.
If there's a way to make some of those things healthier and safer for us, I'm all for it.
Another interesting thing too is that when it finally does start to open up and live music starts again, the biggest problem is going to be these venues, because there's going to be so many people that want to play. It'll be, okay, how much will you pay me to rent the venue?
Yeah.
And then it'll be, okay, is it really these, the best of bands out there? Or is it these bands that have a lot of money and a lot of support behind them? And then the other side of that, ticket sales are going to have to go up in order to promote all this.
Right.
And sustain it. That's going to be the hardest thing at least what I envision, because all of a sudden there's a big difference between supply and demand. Everybody's going to want to play. And then every venue is going to say, hey, okay, well, come on. But now instead of being 1,000, it's 2,000. Oh, you'll pay me 25. Okay. Then the bands are going to have to manipulate. Well, in order to do this, I'm going to have to, raise the merch price, raise the ticket prices, all of that stuff. And it's going to be hard on the bands once again, instead of just like, hey, let's just get our music out there. So the good thing is about this, at least you can have this digital format and say, okay, well, we can't afford to play at, Joe's local bar anymore because they're charging too much money to get in, because they need to recoup and get through what happened through 2020. So we'll just do stuff digitally, as far as, getting together and putting it out there.
It'll be
the hardest
interesting.
thing is just keeping your name out there.
It'll be interesting to see how this affects some of the different festivals and such that have been popping up, not only in America, but across the world. Because we had our eyes on getting into, either in 2020 or 2021, a handful of those different festivals. And if they take another year off, but then start up again in 2022, it will be interesting to see how if they have to run differently or market themselves differently. I mean, hopefully those conversations.
Even if they survive another year without.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm saying I think all of them are going to have to get creative in terms of how are they going to be able to find a way forward. And hopefully, enough of that will happen that we can have conversations with them about getting booked and doing that sort of thing.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
much love. I'm going to need to bow out of the interview
All
at this
right.
time.
Okay.
I got to run too. But
Yeah, it's about time
Okay.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Yeah, you're
You know,
welcome. Thanks for having us.
I really appreciate this. You know, been talking with Matt for about a month now for this. And I push it to this date because I figure it gives enough time that if I can't get all of you, I'll get a majority, you know, because everybody's got their schedules, whatever they are, you know,
Right.
and just wanted to get everybody on the same page. But I really do appreciate it, and it's nice to see some of the old faces and a new one, you know, and hopefully the next time see it live somewhere, you know.
Hey, we might even make
No.
Celebrating some stuff, some happy
Yeah.
stuff.
Some new stuff.
Find a way.
Live mic room.
Thanks for having us, Ron.
Yeah,
Oh, you're
Ron,
welcome.
and thank you for the support through the years. We appreciate it. And,
Yeah,
and all,
Ron, thank you very much, buddy.
Yeah, Ron, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Best to Angie as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll let her know. She's in the other room.
Cool. Cool.
Okay. Well, you guys have a good rest of your day and weekend, and talk to you guys soon.
All right.
rock on, kiddies.
Yeah,
Good to
take
see
care, y'all.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
See you
Ron.
guys later.
You guys- See y'all soon.
Peace out.
All right. Cool.